Okay, I start, right?
Yeah, you do.
Okay. Hello,
This is the podcast, Girls.
and the city. You are welcomed by your two lovely co-hosts, me, Susanna, who just learned that going single and alone to a wedding is the new it way of meeting people.
So profound. We'll have to hear the stories about this. And me, Elizabeth, who's determined that it is going to be fit femme fall this season because I'm reinvesting back into myself. Yeah.
Ooh.
But anyways, on this podcast, we watch an episode of Sex and the City. We talk about the main themes of it. We try to answer the main question. If we don't like the main answer to the question, we usually come up with our own and share our own stories.
Which is usually the case.
Yeah, we tend to disagree with Carrie, but how have you been?
Well, I am. So the last two episodes, when I was editing one of them, I realized I was so serious and kind of sad, and I only realized when I was editing it. So I
It was a
decided
phase.
to, yeah, I was like, no more. This is not me. This is not Susanna. So I'm coming with my energy
We're
again.
back.
Hey, hi everyone. Your serious slash funny, if I can call myself that,
You're
Eastern
hilarious.
European, Eastern European, way of funny. Susanna is back, and I am amazing. Honestly, today,
Yeah.
today is specifically amazing because I just realized, no, I just learned that I can stay in the UK.
Woo! That means I get to go visit.
Exactly, because I was my settlement status was expiring, and I was basically waiting for the UK Home Office to give me news on whether I need visa or not. Turn out I don't, and not only they extended it for 2 years, they extended it for 5 years.
Amazing.
So I am honestly like
Over the moon,
I was so
hopefully.
afraid I have to leave this country again after a year, but that is not the case. So I am happy as a, I don't know,
As a
as what?
clam.
As a what?
As a clam.
I was gonna say a pig, but I don't think that makes
Pig.
sense.
Yes,
I
worse
don't
than a
think that makes
clam.
sense in English. Yeah, so that's great. Other than that, yeah, Slovakia was amazing. I spent time with friends. I went to the wedding, obviously. Um, it was amazing, lovely wedding of a very close friend of both of us.
Yeah.
Uh, I spent some time with family, went to the festival. First festival I've ever did.
Nice.
Yes, I know, I am quite old for saying that,
You're
but
really
it's
not.
what
You're
it
really
is.
not.
Which I loved. I did so many steps the second night. I think I
You
did
always
like,
you don't notice how much you walk around at these festivals.
but the thing is, that's one thing. But the second thing is, I basically went for a techno and drum and bass where you just moving a lot,
Yeah.
and I did 41,000
Wow.
steps. So my body just collapsed basically when we got to the accommodation. Like I just kind of broke down. Like I started to shake, be cold, and out of nowhere. But it was great.
Kind of scary.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening to me? My cousin. So I went with my cousin, and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I don't." I started to cry, and I was like, "I don't know. I think I'm just tired."
Just
So,
tired. Just extremely
um,
tired.
exactly. Like I probably exhausted myself a little bit too much, and obviously you don't sleep,
Yeah.
normally. So, yeah, that was great. And now I'm back in London.
Mhm.
My Yeah, a lot of things changing in my life. But I am a person who, until it's real, I don't want to talk about it to not jinx it. So it's just very exciting in my private and professional life. But I will let you know once I feel it's ready. And what else? Yeah, just meeting friends. I'm going for a second bachata class tomorrow,
Ooh.
which is pretty exciting.
I love
Uh,
new hobbies.
I love dancing. I just didn't know, like I didn't have a partner to go with, but now I do, and we go together. And obviously, my last time was my first class ever. I did some salsa before, but like
It's
I
slightly
wouldn't.
different though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same vibe. But like, I wouldn't necessarily say that I know how to dance salsa. I did just like a few classes.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
what is like how the class works is girls stand and then the guys circle. So like you just wait for the partner to come. And I went to the class where there were more guys than the girls, which is not
Rarely ever
typical.
happens. Yeah.
Exactly. So there were more guys than the girls, and they were just like rotating. And um, yeah, at the end, the guy that last guy that I danced with, like there was then some freestyle kind of space that you can just dance with people, and he
Right.
started to dance with me, and I was like, I only know the moves that we learned today because this is my first class. So if you try to lead me to anything else, I have no clue what you're trying to do. And he was like, really? No way. I was like, yeah. It's like, we can dance the thing that we learned today, but that's pretty much
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I'm excited to pick up a few more moves. That's that.
I get that. I get that. No, it sounds like an awesome, awesome time. I mean, as summer is wrapping up, I guess, but
I mean, based on the images you sent me, it doesn't feel like
I
that in the
mean, not
US.
around here. I think like around DC, it doesn't really hit until November. Like even October is
Mm.
actually relatively warm here.
That
So
sounds like a dream to
it's
people who
nice.
live
Yeah, but it
here.
only lasts for like a really short time because the summers are really bad and the winters are
Yeah.
cold. So like the short moment of spring and fall here are really nice.
Well,
So
enjoy it while it lasts.
I definitely will. Yeah, yeah, and I've been like sitting outside as much as possible because it's like the only time I get to.
But tell us your
I'm
updates and more
good. I've
specifically your one-liner.
my one-liner. That's me trying out a Pilates class.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah, yeah. You did tell me
literally.
that you're gonna talk about
That's
that.
where it came from. No, things have been good. I'll prevent myself from talking about work because it's been a lot, but um, we all know that's like a boring topic to talk about. But on the fun side of things, because work has been a lot, I am taking a couple days off next week just to like take a breath, like reinvest in myself, including like, yeah, trying out a Pilates class. Basically, like the studio nearby, which is literally like 2 blocks away from me, really close. They were having their like birthday, their 1 year anniversary of like being open.
Oh,
And so they
cute.
had a couple of like classes that you can just come and try out. And so I did. And it's for former Pilates. It is humbling. Um,
It is.
but I would like to go back. That's the thing is like I think it was hard, but it's only because I've not tried it before and it was only like a half an hour class. Usually they're like 50-minute classes, so
That was half an hour. Oh wow, like
it
an
was only half
intro
hour.
class.
Like it was an intro. Like I don't think it was intro because everyone else like knew what they were doing there before, so I think they're like actually usually go. But for me it was my first one, so like I've done floor Pilates, but just not reformer Pilates. And though elements are similar, it's not at all the same.
It's not because there are the
Yeah.
springs that basically add the weight. And as a
Yeah.
certified Pilates instructor, I go every week to this class, which is a reformer, and the
Yeah.
teacher is just amazing. I feel like a total failure every time. Like
Yeah.
it's hard, and you
But it feels like it's humbling, but at the same time it feels very rewarding at the end, you know?
right, and
Because
you
it
feel
feels
so
like
good afterwards.
you're not like lifting weights and you're not trying to like see how much you can lift. It's more of like how can I like manage and control my own body? And that's
Yeah.
like that feels like a little bit more empowering, I'd say. And so that's essentially where my one-liner stems. I also like went to a life and fitness lecture at the Ned because I always do. And they were talking about things of just like how you can stay active and fit as like a very busy professional, which I think is
Mm,
also a very
interesting.
prevalent topic nowadays, especially for someone like me who works from home that I genuinely don't go outside besides walking my dog, and that's like probably not really good for me. And so they talked about like nutrition and like things that you should eat and you should avoid eating, and then like how many steps a day and all this stuff. So like it was really good to put that in perspective. Um, yeah, but otherwise, I also went to a soft opening of a museum this morning, and that was really fun. So essentially,
I saw the
um,
pictures. It looked amazing.
It was fun. It's not open to the public just yet. They're opening next weekend. But this was like their pre-trial run. And anyone that's like an Ed member was able to get access early.
Oh,
And
okay, I
so it was
see.
funny. I was supposed to go with a couple of our friends. Both of them canceled on me, but I still went. But gladly I actually ran into one of my, I guess I can call her a friend from the Ned. She's like an older woman that I every now and then hang out with there. And so it was lovely seeing her. And it was really cool. It's called the Center for Advancement of the American Dream, which sounds all like rah rah patriotic, but it's actually not. It was very wholesome. Like you walk in there and there's like this tree covered in like little digital images of people who like have shared stories of how they've like either
Hmm.
immigrated to the US or like built up their lives here. And then throughout the museum, they also talk about like the financial institutions. So it's like generally like really educational museum.
Interesting.
And then they also had like an immersive like storytelling machine where you have a 360 like digital room where they just share stories of people and a couple of like movies about local
Mm.
businesses and how they started. So really cool like interactive museum. And it's also in an old bank, which was cool. So it's very
Oh, I
similar to
love
how the
that.
net in London works.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, is there a relation to that?
And there is not, but I just love the fact that they choose an old bank to open up their clubs in. Um, Yeah, so I did that. That was very fun. And then what else did I do? I went to a painting class this past weekend, and that was fun too. So I'm like, I love getting
You did a
back into all
lot.
the artsy stuff. I did do a
Yeah.
lot. I also like rested a little bit, caught up with family, and then like did a tiny bit of work. I promise not to talk about it, but I snuck it in
That is a
there.
big change. Like Elizabeth usually talks about her work as a main
Yeah,
update. So,
it's it's been fun. It's been fun. Let's just say like my corporate financial literacy has been going up as of late. I should maybe go into investment banking at this point because I know my way around a business model now.
I mean,
Um,
you'll probably be even more overworked, but paid more. So,
that's true. At least I'd be paid more. But besides the point, let's dive into our episode.
yes.
We've got a fun one. It's gonna be season 2, episode 13. 13's my favorite number. And it's gonna
It's
be
my
the
date
games
of
we
birth.
play. I mean, we're clearly meant to be soulmates.
This was all destiny, you know?
It's all destiny. It was meant to always happen.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, so we're essentially I'll give the summary and I'll do my absolute best, and Susanna will keep me honest as always. But we open up with Carrie being out of a relationship with Big, and it's
Again.
anything she can talk about. Frankly, we see glimpses of her talking to each one of her girlfriends and how she is like saying, frankly, like I was the best thing that ever happened to him. The classic things you talk about when you break up with a guy who you clearly realize was not really worth your time.
Or
So
you're not clearly over yet.
or you're clearly not over. And I think that's definitely a part of healing. And that's why friends are wonderful and they will keep on listening to you rant about them nonstop. But she doesn't seem to be able to talk about anything else. And at some point they sit down for an intervention saying, Carrie, like you can listen, you can talk to us all day and that's fine. But the problem is like we're gonna cut you off because like we have to start making progress at some point. And she's like, well, what do you mean? Like, isn't like our friendship like free therapy? And they're like, no, no, no. We actually think you should go like consult a real professional therapist.
Which
Um,
honestly, I love that. I really like that they're
I do
kind of
too.
being
I
so
love the
upfront.
honesty. Um, I also love Samantha's comment about like we're all as fucked up as you are. It's like the
Yeah.
blind leading the blind, which also absolutely resonates. Friends are wonderful, but besides listening and just giving you like something from their past experience or their gut feeling, like it's really hard to do.
Unless you have a therapist friend, then
Yeah,
good. Well
exactly,
done.
exactly. And then basically we see that Carrie does not believe in therapy and that she sees like that to be like an excessive spending. But then she also connects with Stanford, who actually apparently has to have 3 therapists. I think it was like one for coddling, one when he wants to actually make progress, and another one was just to look at a hot man. Um,
Yep.
which I love that for Stanford. And in the meantime, we also see Miranda playing basically like flirty peekaboo with her neighbor across I think it's like the alley or whatever's between the buildings.
Hmm.
But essentially yeah, she like flirts with him, gets a little peep show here and there. And then we later find out that actually she ran into him at the grocery store, and he was actually trying to flirt with a man that was above her apartment. So he was flirting
I
with someone
mean,
else.
I
Kind of awkward.
again, when I saw that, I was like, they really are not giving it to Miranda. Like she's going through really rough
Yeah.
situations. I think more than every other character, but at the same time, at least was a man. I think like
Right.
you kind of take it better if it's a man rather than another woman.
No, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So, and then we have Carrie who's finally going to see a therapist that Miranda's therapist recommended. And Sanford says that's like a really good therapist because Paltrow goes to her. And the therapist asks her why she's here. She's like, well, my friends can't listen to me anymore, so I have to be here now. And one of the things that she was talking about is like her past relationships. And she is like, yeah, all these men are playing all these games and I don't seem to know the rules. And that's why she's struggling.
Hmm.
And one of the things that really killed me, and I quoted it, was the therapist responded with, "Was this the first time you were dating a man who couldn't give you what you wanted?" I was like, that's harsh, but it's kind of true.
That is very true. For
Yeah,
especially Mr. Big and her.
yeah. Honestly, honestly. Anyways, and then we kind of trickle into the conversation about games because essentially after that therapy session, she met up with her friends and was talking about like the concept of games. So, not to jump into it, but some of the quotes that were shared were that basically you have to like. So Charlotte was saying that you have to be in a game. It's the only way to deal with men. Well, we're gonna pin that one. Um, And then Miranda sarcastically says, well, that's healthy. Relationships are about honesty and mature communication. Thoughtful Miranda. Um, and then, but Charlotte goes back and says, like, games are empowering. If you know what you're doing, you can totally control the situation. So I'll pin those there for a bigger topic. But essentially, that
Yeah.
was
Well, you, you
the.
you left a big
Oh,
piece of.
sorry. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, at the therapist. Um, so Carrie, when she was seeing the therapist, obviously, like, the therapist has multiple clients that she sees, and she was waiting in the waiting room one day, and like a guy came out of his session, and she, I guess, found him cute, and then the next time she saw him, she wore a really cute dress, and he eventually like asked her out, and they went on a date. Then they hooked up as well. And then after they were basically lying in bed and she asked him of like, so how come like you're seeing this therapist? And he's like, I forgot what he was. He said, he's
He
like,
said, I get
he's,
bored after I sleep with women.
yeah, he's like, I lose interest after I sleep with women,
Right, that was the
which
exact word.
then brings Carrie back to her astonished moment when she finally realizes what the therapist was saying is actually quite accurate.
And I mean,
Um,
he asked her afterwards, like, why are you seeing? And she's like, apparently I picked the wrong man. And
Apparently, I picked the wrong man.
that was, yeah.
It was a great, great closing. But yeah, so I'll intro us into the big question and then we'll kick it off. So the big question here is
Please.
going to be, do you have to play games to make a relationship work? Dun dun dun.
Yeah, that is a
A bit of a
quite
pickle. A
a,
bit of a
quite
pickle.
a question.
Yeah, and we can briefly start with like talking about like therapy and stigma around therapy as well. Because I think I don't know if it was back then that it was considered to be so taboo or like stigmatized to go see therapists because we do generally see a disbelief coming from Carrie that it's basically pointless and why should I be in therapy if I'm a perfectly normal person? I just tend to date the wrong kind of guys. And I think that's a common misconception of like you need therapy only when you are in a really,
Struggling.
really low place. Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally think that it's healthy to, because again, not to say everyone's messed up, but we all come with our own baggage of like how we
But
were
yes.
raised and like how we react to certain things. And you bring that into everything. You bring that into work, you bring that into your friendships, you bring that into your relationships. And so, from my understanding, and I'm curious what your perspective is as well, but like therapy doesn't fix you, it gives you the tools to understand and
Hmm.
to manage situations and like future things better.
Yeah. I mean, that's a
What do you
nice
think?
way. Well, that's a nice way of saying it. I done therapy myself,
Yeah.
and I seeked it when I was very low. Like, I think a lot of people push it to the point that they're like, okay, I'm really struggling, so I might try
Right.
that. And exactly, the reason for me doing therapy was because I was looking for practical tools or measures that I can apply when I was going through, things that I clearly were able to identify.
Right.
Oh my God, my English. Like, I was struggling with something, right? And I wanted to understand how I can kind of ease that when I'm in that situation. Um, I really like the therapy. It helped me a lot. The therapist was she. She didn't really given me that many tools, but I think that's also because I haven't done that many sessions. But what she was really useful was she gave me a framework. So I was able to recognize some of the things, like I was able to name it and label it, but she kind of linked it all together. Like, this is happening because of that, and it's coming from that, and this is connected to a child in that way. And like all
Right.
these situations that you might not even realize are connected, you are still going through the same cycle. It's just in different contexts. And I was like, oh, like that, I've never seen that before. And once she kind of showed me this
Like
interconnection between all
network,
of it.
essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was like, okay, and that was, I think, the best thing, because afterwards, when I was in situations where I clearly seen I was triggered by a person or whatever they said, I was able to very easily connect it to that framework and see, like, okay, I'm just now being triggered because of that, and I was able to react in a much more rational way as a result.
Hmm.
So I guess everyone is different. Obviously, everyone has different things to resolve. But yeah, I do feel that it was more the framework rather than tools, but it definitely helped me to understand how to deal with situations where I'm triggered. Yeah, I wonder,
Definitely.
have you done any therapy?
I have, but like a while ago, and I'd love to go back in. Just because I think like I'm in a very different place in life. The first
Mm,
time I went, I was in my beginning my third year of university, and so me shaping as an adult back then is also very different than me shaping as an adult now. So I think it's like healthy to go through that phase and look back and also figure out like what I can do differently in the future.
yeah.
Um, but one of the things that I was also interestingly talking to, again, my friends at the Ned, not to put in a plug there, but again, because I don't really
This
meet
is like
people.
such a
It
unsponsored
should be sponsored, honestly.
promotion of
I
this
know.
pod.
No, but it's like I don't usually meet people out in the wild otherwise, unless I'm like going to an event there. And some of the women that I've met there are extremely fascinating. Not to the men aren't fascinating, I just talk to less of them there. But the women that I've met there are extremely interesting. So one of them is actually a certified psychiatric therapist. So like there's like she
Wow.
also explained to me there's different levels of therapists and like it
Yeah,
depends on
obviously.
what you need help with. That is their level of expertise. But we were talking about general because she's also interested in the impact of AI in therapy as well. And so she's actually part of like a group that's doing a lot of like the research and lobbying for it as well, which is interesting. But
For it or
like
against?
for the enhancements of it because she doesn't think it's necessarily like a bad thing that people are using it as their therapist, but it's
Hmm.
more of their over reliance on AI for social connections. Because essentially, a lot of people, what she's noticing with her clients is that they're over consulting it and trusting it, and that's also like as part of their just day to day conversational life, they also are relying on it as well. So that
Yeah.
was a really interesting aspect to it because obviously I think in the past we've all like searched up a symptom and consulted WebMD for any physical, symptoms, and it's the same thing with I think becoming emotional symptoms. So I'm curious because you are quite a bit into like the AI space. So like, have you heard anything kind of coming about specifically around mental health and the use of
Yeah.
AI?
So I host AI events in London, and one of them was actually on AI and human connections. So we went quite deep on the topic of a companion or a therapist
Hmm.
the AI being used in that way. And I think obviously, there are some kind of obvious conclusions that everyone can make, that it's quite isolating, and also the technology itself will make you always feel listened and
Yeah.
kind of comforted. But that's not necessarily what therapy is about. Therapy is about challenging you. And so you will not necessarily get help. You will just get confirmation that what you feel
Interesting. So you don't think it's going
is
to be like programmed to challenge you, to ask you like take in the information and ask a hard overarching question like we did in this case
I
where like Carrie's choosing the wrong men?
honestly, I feel people will use generative AI and the models more and more for these use cases. Like Harvard review, um, I know there was a forecast that in 2025, AI used as a therapy or for emotional help will be the number one use case, which I
Interesting.
pretty much
Yeah.
believe that's true. Um, but what is important is there are certain inherited functionalities in this technology, and
Yeah.
one of them is called psychophancy, and the fact that the model and these models are made in a way that you want to come back. So that means you will be confirmed, or like what you say, there will be little to almost no challenge coming from these models, because if that would be a case, you will not come back, right? And these companies will not make money,
Yeah.
obviously. So this is how the AI works. Now, a lot of people are not aware of it, so this is a very important thing. And that's also, I think, where like a lot of these concerns come from my side. But there are a lot of regulations being now done, and a lot of them goes exactly into topics like sensitive data, stuff like that, especially in
Hmm.
EU. So I hope that there will be more standardization for sensitive and high risk use cases. Ultimately, where I see it, or a very easy resolution, is you would always hook a link to a real person. Like if the chatbot recognizes at some point that the conversation is getting too serious,
Yeah.
there should just be a direct recommendation to, okay, I can't help you anymore, but this is a person that can help you, right? Which
Makes sense.
opens
Yeah. Yeah.
another question, like who the person is and how you can get to be recommended. That we are going way too much into business, but I do believe this is like an easy and healthy way, because I am using ChatGPT for emotional discussion sometimes, um,
Yeah.
so I am not gonna pretend that people don't do it and that there's not gonna be more and more of that, but there should be like a clear limit where the bots will just refuse to go further and instead recommend a therapist that people then probably can reach out.
Yeah. I
That's
am
my
surprised though
take.
that people are comfortable feeding in that level of like private like information into a
Are you?
Gemini or a Chat GPT. Like because of how, and again, this is maybe because I again work in healthcare and like the HIPAA regulations and things like that is very stringent, and so I am surprised that people are so comfortable feeding in like their pure emotions when like that kind of information is usually so heavily protected. Um,
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Like, I think the more you use it, the more comfortable you become with technology. And it's just a natural
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
process.
No,
You
I'm just
also,
thinking like it's feeding that, it's using that information to train models. Like I don't maybe it's just because people have
yeah.
the ignorance of not knowing what it does, but like that would be
That's the
my
problem.
concern, for
That's the
example.
problem. I mean, that's always the problem. We've seen the same thing happen with social
Yeah.
media and algorithms, right? People just didn't understand how they work. So they didn't know that what they see on the feed is not the objective information, it's the algorithmic output of what they like.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
But you reminded me. I listened to this great podcast. It's an Australian podcast producer called Shameless Media, and they do a
Mhm.
podcast called Everybody Has a Secret. There was a
Ooh.
secret submitted not long time ago where the girl found out that the boyfriend, that I
Yeah.
think they were engaged, he was having an affair with an AI. Like it went so far that he started to request the AI to respond in a sexual way.
Oh gosh.
And he was
Interesting.
talking with this AI about his problems in the relationship and things that she said, like the girlfriend, he did not tell her, but he told the AI. So
Wow.
I like that is another use case which I think is something we should be aware of,
Yeah.
and how very quickly and easily you can fall into that. Like especially some types of people maybe that struggle to open up to people,
Totally.
like they're
Yeah, 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 yeah.
introverted, and so like this feels very much like a safe space, and then you can tweak it. You can basically create the best, you know digital version of a partner that you want, but not
Totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
necessarily that you need, because
Yeah, there's a
you
whole
love
movie about this that was, I think,
she.
from the 2000s. Oh, it's yeah,
It's
it's
Sky.
she or her, one of those two.
Oh,
Yeah,
her, yeah. Sorry.
it's one of those two, but it's like I watched it like I don't want to say as a kid, but I think I watched it as a kid and I was like, this is such a weird movie. Like, why would this ever happen? But now I'm starting to believe it more and more and more that that's plausible.
Yeah. So I mean, we have so much more to discuss in this episode,
We
but
do, but this is it's a
like to close
fascinating
it,
thing.
I think therapy, yeah, it's great. Everyone should do therapy. I agree with what you said. And then AI is gonna definitely change relationships in all the facets
Oh
of
yeah, yeah, for
life.
sure. For sure, for sure. Yeah, we're entering our Black Mirror episode phase now.
I think we're already in it. It's
We're
just
definitely in it. I gotta rewatch it just to see what else they've projected. But on to our next topic. So the idea of like dating the wrong men and that lore of
is this a familiar topic to us, or is
I
it?
no, but I mean, is it not to everyone? And this is not. I don't think it's just about men, but I think it also applies like both ways. Just
Yeah.
dating the wrong kind of person for you. I just think that resonates everywhere, honestly.
It's a
As we take a deep sigh and remember all that.
I did like the quote that Carrie said in her delusional
Yeah,
approach to life. She's like, I don't pick wrong guys. The wrong guys pick me.
yeah.
Which, yeah,
But that
bless her.
goes back to like on Reddit, and I'm curious if you found the same things that I found on Reddit, and I'm pretty sure they are. But the quote of like and I think this was from a movie, and I forgot what movie it was, but we accept the love we think we deserve, and that really goes back
Mm.
to it, right? And it's like the moment that the wrong man finds Carrie, she's like, like I should pursue it. So that
That's
was one of the
such a
things.
strong, yeah, like that's definitely true. Like you look for what is familiar rather than what is right. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that is predominantly connected to your childhood, or like how you saw law, or received law.
Yep.
Love. Law. What am I talking about? I'm still in the AI discussion.
Cheers.
Um, but I mean, like, this is another reason why you need to do therapy, especially
Yep.
if that wasn't necessarily the healthy version of love, and then you just keep picking up like playboys or bad boys.
Yep.
I mean,
And I
at
think
some point you can see the pattern. Like at some point you're like, okay, there's probably a problem is in me as well.
yeah, totally. And this I think also brings up to the other quote that I found, which also resonated with me, is that idea of like the roller coaster, they call it a car chase here, but it says, who I'm compatible with and able to be in a fulfilling relationship isn't supposed to feel like a car chase. It's supposed to feel
Hmm.
safe and sometimes even boring.
Okay, what do you think about that?
I okay, I have to agree, and this is because of the other definition that I found is in some circumstances, and maybe this is again not to overanalyze my childhood, but the idea of like chaos and dysfunction feels normal because again, maybe this is because all of my family members except for my dad and I are fire signs. So like the idea of chaos roller coasters translates into love and passion and that kind of thing. And so
Hmm.
maybe that's why in the past, for example, I was like, oh, this person is boring. But I also think there is a moment that goes too far that maybe someone is just not for you and you guys don't find each other interesting whatsoever. But what do you think?
Well, I thought about this many times because I've had both types of relationships, like
Hmm.
ones that I felt bored at some point, and those that I could not even have the time to be bored because it was a constant, like, yeah, anxiety and fight or
Yeah.
flight mode. Um, and my conclusion is that it's neither
Okay.
or neither. I don't know which
Sure.
pronunciation. If it's
British accent.
boring, it's not good because you can definitely have a relationship that is
Well, then you need to know the
okay.
difference between
Let
stable
me
and boring.
let me let me prefix this. It
Okay.
should feel safe.
Definitely.
That, like, you should still make it fun,
Yep.
and playful. Even do like games which are like fun for you
Yep.
two guys to keep the chemistry going in whatever way that is important to you, but it should at the end of the day feel safe. So
Hmm.
if it feels safe but boring, I don't think that's good. If it doesn't feel safe but it's exciting, I don't think that's good neither. It should feel safe. There's like a base, and then
Yep.
how you do other layers on top of it, it's up to you, or like what
Yep.
you need as a person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another thing that I found interesting was the fact that people were calling out that sometimes people confuse chemistry with compatibility, and the butterflies that they're feeling is actually anxiety.
Yeah, I agree with
That was
that.
a profound thing, and I was like, oh my God.
It's like this note that I wrote, which is lust versus real interest.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah, go for it. I feel
no,
like
I'm just curious. Like, I get it. Okay, and that's perfectly a normal feeling. We're not here to sit on our high horses or judge anyone because I think this is more of a moment of clarity of like, oh, I've definitely seen that happen in my life before, of just like an intentional, like initial attraction,
mm,
and then you confuse it for like, oh, maybe I could be in a relationship with this person. But what do you think there?
well, I feel like we are slowly entering the discussion about the dating games because I
It's
do,
only a natural segue.
of course, because like honestly, I feel this kind of initial really strong pull you have to people. It's
Yeah.
almost like a type of a game, which is it can either be love bombing, or push and pull, or being unavailable, whatever
Yeah.
sparks your interest as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
as
yeah.
a but all of these three, I think, can create this butterfly slash anxiety type of feeling, which I definitely had experienced. Um, but recognizing that is very difficult. I feel like I don't know if I would be able to like even tell today if this is anxiety or this is like excitement.
Right.
It's definitely true, but like you can almost like it's always so easy to judge looking backwards like what that was, but how much would you actually be able to recognize it in the moment? I don't know. Like I always go back to this safety thing for me. Like, does this feel safe? Like, do I
Yep.
feel safe around this person, or do I feel anxious around the person? And
Well,
then,
or is it not just around them? Because the problem is, let's say you feel safe around them, but the moment that they're not is when you feel anxious because they're not there.
yeah, yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily the vibe you want to go for. You want to feel comfortable and calm with or without them.
Agreed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that was the other thing of like emotional attachment. I think you brought this up as well, is being attached to someone who's emotionally unavailable and the fact that you're trying to win them over and receive the attention is also, I think, a sign of one, anxiety, and then two, just the fact that you're with a partner who doesn't realize your needs and they think
Mm,
it's perfectly fine, but you feel not okay in their absence. Like you don't feel like your whole self still.
yeah.
And I think that's like that's an important piece that also like resonated with me is like let's not
So
forget, like, you're a full person yourself. You have a life, and the fact that, like, I don't know, they're away doing something else is perfectly normal, and you should feel fine and safe on your own, which is
yeah.
really hard to do. Um,
I mean, being completely honest, this is a type of a dynamic I struggle with, especially once I get used to the person and it's healthy, but then they suddenly start to pull away. I
that's
am.
the whole aspect of love bombing, though, right? Because, like,
It is, and I mean, it's unfortunately when you realize that, but like the moment I stop feeling safe. Like I would not be necessarily overbearing or overly not touchy. How do you say needy?
yeah,
If I feel safe, but the moment they start to pull out and I actually care, it's crazy how much I suddenly become anxious and like my approach completely changes.
yeah.
Um, which is probably something I should like deal with myself. But the point here is
No, but I that's the thing.
well,
I've rarely heard of women love bombing.
yeah,
I've
that's
and
a good
again,
point.
guys who are listening, prove me wrong. But I've rarely heard of that case. It is usually guys who will act like they're for a month they'll call you, text you, hang out with you every day, every other day. I don't
And
care, like
they will put like
elaborate.
150 effort into it. Like
Yeah.
please
And the moment
guys,
they know they've got you, that's when they pull back.
like what is it? Is it the chase? Like why are you doing this? Like I would really genuinely want to know like what is it? Because it doesn't make sense to me that you would literally chase me to the grave and promise me the world and then the moment I'm like, okay, you're out.
Yeah.
Like what is it? I one of the interpretation I kind of found when I was thinking about this is the
Right.
attachment styles.
Yeah.
So they're obviously like a lot, and it's like a whole psychological
There's a whole
concept.
book. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Aren't there like
it's
five in total?
but I think the dynamic we are necessarily describing is anxious avoidant dynamic. So this is where a lot of these push and pull relationships happened because anxious would be obviously anxious and they would try to push or pressure the avoidant to communicate more because they feel that they are not like something is wrong, they can feel it and they want to resolve it and they feel anxious about it, and for the avoidant that feels like the worst thing you have ever because they are
Yeah.
naturally they want to keep distance, and so the more you push and pressure them the more avoidant they will become, and usually these type of relationships end up in a breakup because once the anxious start to be very anxious they will do exactly this that will push the avoidant away. So I do feel like a lot of times it's that, and that reflects, yeah, there is something in your approach to relationships you need to heal.
Yeah. And I think that, again, distills down to compatibility, right? Is how compatible are your attachment styles, your love languages, all the things. How aligned are your stars? Is also, I think, but that's
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
I think,
stars is one thing, but I think like you should not say, "Oh, I am avoidant, so I can't be with like an anxious attachment." I think attachment there is a healthy attachment, and you can try to get there as much as possible. But if
sure.
you say, "I am anxious attachment style," to me that means there are some things you need to work on, so you can recognize in the dynamics that now I'm being anxious and I need to kind of chill out.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think again, that comes with every compatibility unless it's like something very major, but it's something that has to be one recognized and then to address and then you figure out
Yeah,
how to move forward from it. Because
yeah.
otherwise it would just be constantly clashing and it would sound like it's going to be a missing communication.
And you will be playing games.
And you'll be playing games. Which brings us to our ultimate topic.
Woohoo! Yeah, this is a. I have so much notes on the like. I was researching like what type of games there are, and there are a lot. So shall we
Yeah.
start with the definition?
Wait.
What like
Okay, yeah, yeah. Start with your definition. I'll sprinkle in mine, and then we
okay.
can go to the quotes
This is
from
a
the
Google
episode.
definition slash
Okay.
Gemini, but I felt it was pretty good.
Okay.
Playing relationship slash dating games refers to using manipulative tactics to control emotions or create insecurity in a partner, which can damage trust and lead to conflict. However, relationship games can also refer to healthy activities that strengthen a bond through shared fun, communication, and bonding, such as 20 questions.
Oh yeah, no, totally. No, there's like fun games. You can also do board games. I think we're mostly focusing today on the unfun ones, but maybe one day
Yeah.
we should focus on the fun ones of like fun things to do with your partner, which are games. Um the other thing that I also picked up on there is like the fact that a lot of these games are rooted in insecurities and fear of rejection,
Hmm.
which is also an interesting point. Yeah,
Well, let's unpin the pins that you did at the beginning of
unpin the
the episode.
pins. But like, wait, before we do that, should we want to give a couple examples of games,
Yeah. Okay.
like the
Yeah. Let's do
negative
that.
games in relationships? Because I think they quoted a few from the interviews.
Yeah. Do you want to do that, or should I? I don't know.
Sure, 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 sure. I can do that. So, some examples of games of in the interviews, there was a man who said, "Had a great night over the weekend, then waited until Thursday to call." And then the same woman, I guess, who he went on a date with was like screened call and didn't return till Monday. Um, and
Yep.
then another woman said that she gave a man an ultimatum to propose until Christmas and then secretly said she got pregnant. Yeah, so another list of examples of games is like generally playing hard to get. And that could be like fun and flirty, sure, but again, that's still a game that's putting an effort. Sending mixed messages, making someone jealous, or the
Hmm.
silent treatment. So those are also some
Oh, silent treatment. That
the
is
worst.
that is a powerful one.
Yes. I mean, powerful one, so haha, she's played that game.
Let's just say I can be very stubborn.
We're all guilty. No, no, no. None of us are innocent. I don't have a halo above my head, though I wish. Uh, but any thoughts? I've also asked some of our friends around of what they think about games and dating.
Okay, before we go there, I will add a few more. So
Okay.
obviously, hot and cold, hard
Okay.
to get,
Okay.
love bombing. We mentioned that one. Ghosting.
Yeah, that's a fair one. That's
Uh,
not really a game. It's kind of like a game over kind of thing, but
well, it can be a way of piquing interest. Like
okay.
you would ghost person to pique their interest. Um, Acting disinterested,
Okay.
or
Yeah, yeah, playing hard to
don't
get.
show them that you care.
Playing hard to
And
get.
I also have this point that in some countries, like Portugal, games are considered art of seduction, and people think that being honest and transparent about who you are and what you want ruins the magic.
God, people have been delusional for years.
Yeah. So imagine
Generations, centuries.
there are actually cultures where playing the games is the way you date.
Oh my God. Okay,
So,
another thing I wanted to note, which one of our great friends has called out, the negative side of games is that the word games implies that there is a winner and a loser, which has no
hmm,
place in dating. Like it should be a win-win situation in both cases, which I thought was also quite profound.
very mature.
Very mature. But at the same time, she also said that games are necessary. Otherwise, things come off as red flags, which is interesting in terms of like being overly transparent. I think like, and maybe it's just the sense of modern dating, but you can't just lay out all the cards on the table, like just coming in saying like, here's
Hmm.
everything about me.
I mean, let's unpack this one because I don't necessarily agree that you should not be transparent. I think you should be transparent pretty much from the beginning. I do agree you should not lay out all the cards at once, but it's not the game. That's just
Yeah.
layers,
Like you don't need
right?
to trauma dump on the first date. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Like, but again, the transparency thing, I do feel that yes, if you can play the games in a way that is actually fun for both rather than not, that
Yep.
is just that makes the dating so much more fun.
Yep.
But
It feels like a bit of a riddle, a little mystery, like
yeah, exactly.
keeping the mystery
And
alive.
but at the same time, you know me, I am a very direct person, so I always appreciate transparency.
Totally. But like I do understand that there is like a little bit of spice here and there if you're keeping some of your cards close to your chest. I get that. That's fine.
Yeah. To me, it's always. I think that some people naturally know how to flirt, which I would call the fun game that is like a healthy one. And then there are people who just don't know how to flirt, or it's not that natural to them. So if you are naturally good at flirting, you will enjoy the game. And if you meet someone that also is good at flirting, it kind of goes and it's all the fun.
But I don't
The problem is when someone is not good at flirting and the other one is, and then the person that's at least my opinion, the person that doesn't know how to flirt, they will perceive it as a game they have to play in order to be interesting to the other person. And like in that way, it's kind of like they think about it consciously, which I don't
I
think
don't know
should
if
be
I
the
agree
case.
with that. 'Cause like even if
Okay.
someone like let's say I'm not my flirting, for example, depends on the person, right? Like
Mm,
but I wouldn't say I'm good at flirting, but if someone flirted with me and I like maintained calm, cool, mysterious, that might be interesting still to them because they're like, wait a second, I can crack anyone else, but why not her? I'm choosing myself as an example, not that I'm mysterious like that. Uh like I feel like you're in that way. Like people will flirt with you and you can keep a straight face.
well, you mean
Even
like
though
me personally?
yeah. Like if they're not coming off too strong, but they like are funny, witty, and will flirt with you a little bit, I think they can still find you like quite mysterious and interesting, even though like you might not be, let's say, quote unquote, good at flirting with
Well,
them.
I'm either overly bubbly, which a lot of people understand as flirting, or I am very cold, which yeah, some people might understand as chasing.
Yeah.
Majority of the times, I don't do flirting in either of these situations, and
I mean, but I also, it depends on, I think flirting is kind of subjective.
yeah, but I can definitely I know exactly when I'm flirting.
Oh, fair.
Like I do it consciously. Like I would do flirting, and then there are a lot of times when I would just be enjoying conversation.
You can still
Um,
be flirting. Oh, I guess there's flirting that comes naturally that you don't realize, I think, as well.
I think that's what I mean. Like I a lot of times feel that people think that I'm flirty, but I am just being bubbly and kind of
Fair.
curious and open minded, right? Um, and that is not flirting to me. That is just yeah, being
Yep.
interested in someone else.
Yep. 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 The other thing,
Do you know when you're flirting? Because like you kind of
I mean, I'm also I don't it comes all over the place. Honestly, sometimes I am flirting, but I'm not like if I feel like I'm bad at it if I'm intentionally flirting. Like I get awkward and anxious. In that case,
mm,
it's not good. It's only good when I'm not like trying and it just like it comes out naturally. Um,
interesting.
yeah,
I could
my
like
flirting is also weird. Like I bully
I could
people.
like go and like intentionally flirt even if
Oh no, I
I'm not
cannot do that to
interested in the
save my life.
person.
I can't do that. I can't even do it if I'm interested in the person. Like,
That's what I mean. Like to me, it's a game. To me, it's a game in
sure,
both of this,
sure, sure,
and
sure, sure, sure.
I like games, board games.
I love board
um,
games.
um, so I kind of like to see people reacting in different situations. So for me, that's why it's kind of fun. Obviously, no like hard damage done. You know, it's just
Yeah.
light.
Like
But
even my flirting is like asking hard questions and knowing people are not ready for it and like watching them kind of break their guard down because I just put them in a kind of a vulnerable spot because they don't know.
well, that's just a game.
Oh.
I mean, for me, that's a game. I would sometimes
Oh,
do that because, yeah, like you want to break the guard down, but also like it's interesting to see how people react because
yeah.
not everyone would ask these questions necessarily.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway, you were mentioning some stories. No, like
Yes.
before we go to stories, because we do have some stories to share. I just want to ask you, do you have some experience with games or anything from your life that came up when you were watching this episode?
I mean, obviously, like there were moments that resonated, and I think I found myself in those kinds of situations, particularly like dating the wrong guys, but then playing the game of love bombing because I think love bombing is actually a game.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah, exactly. So like in that scenario, and that's happened to me more than once. When a guy acts like I'm like the person he sees himself with and like all these things and plans and things come up and then one day you just like don't hear from him. Um that's definitely something that I've
That sounds
experienced
very
unfortunately.
familiar.
Yeah, and then if I and funny enough, like even though I let it go, they'll always come back. They always do. And they'll tell me that like something in their life was happening. They were like in a weird phase in their life and I was like, "Yes, but why did you have to like drag me into it?"
Yeah.
And it's always come back to like the fact that it was a way to ignore their problems. Like I was an escape essentially.
Oh
And so
my
the
god,
moment they
this is
realized that to deal with their problems is when they like shut everything down because they're like I had to really focus on getting my life together.
well,
Which
we all can
obviously
relate to
at the
that.
moment I didn't blame myself, but I was like, okay, it was stupid. Like why is he all of a sudden not interested the moment that I'm showing interest? And so like I felt like I was being too much at the time, where it
Yeah.
turns out like that was not even a moment of consideration.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, you just described my experience. That's literally what I wrote down. It's the same. I have been in this dynamic not that long time ago, and yeah, like the thing is, I thought I was too much at some point, but that was not true. It was just that the person dragged me into the situation that I was looking for, and they frame it as they were ready, but then actually they were not because they were dealing with some other
Yeah,
personal reasons.
totally.
And then they, I think, just kind of backed off because they realized that it's real. And all I was like, what is happening?
You're
I
just a
was
casualty and all that. That's
exactly.
crazy.
I was always pretty upfront about what I want. So yeah. Who did not experience that?
Yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's always a learning experience, and it's not that people have to put their guard up per se, but it's more of like just something to be aware. And it also just talks about like your willingness to take on risks, because at the end of the day, like
Mm,
falling for someone is always a risk that you're taking.
for sure.
Um,
But I
and
think
it's just like how you can
you
bounce
can
back.
identify, like you can identify at the beginning if they are in a healthy space,
Yeah.
headspace or not. And yeah, like if you ignore that, it's a risk. It can work. It doesn't have to. But like one thing I would like to stress, and I am also applying it to myself, if you are not ready, like let's say that you are still not emotionally over someone else, or you just need to sort something out in your own life, don't start dating people
Yeah.
because it's just unfair. Like you will hurt someone that might genuinely start liking you, but just because you are not ready to give and you knew that from the beginning, I think that's not fair. And I would do this now also myself, being like I'm obviously not ready to have something serious, so I don't even want to like go on dates because I'm gonna waste their time.
No, that's totally fair. And I mean, that's a very mature and responsible thing of you to like determine and say. Because a
No,
lot
that
of
is
people,
what everyone should do. Please
well, that's what
be.
they should, but like I don't think people do. People date for attention. People date who are in marriages and again just for that attention and that like self-validating feeling. Unfortunately. But The other thing that I also picked up on Reddit was interesting is that games tend to erode intimacy and teach us to employ bad behaviors instead of good communication, which is
What?
interesting.
Okay.
So in terms of like starting off the relationships with like games instead of like communication and talking up front about things.
Um, but talk. Speaking of story time,
All right,
we
tell
have
me.
we have asked you guys to share stories with us, and we received a story from an
Woo.
anonymous
They're all anonymous.
sender. So I'm gonna read it, and yeah, then we will discuss. So I've had this guy friend for years. We met in high school, stayed close through college, and he basically been part of my everyday life. He is the one I would text when something funny happened, the one who drove me home when I didn't feel safe, the one who sat with me after every heartbreak. I always thought of him as my safe space, my platonic constant. Well, recently he dropped a bomb. We were hanging out like normal when he got really serious and said, I need to tell you something. I've liked you this whole time. I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you. At first, I thought he was kidding, but he wasn't. He straight up admitted all these years, through every you are like a brother to me, through every relationship I complain about to him, he was actually playing what he called the waiting game. Um, just waiting until his time is right and I was single and maybe saw him differently. And I don't know how I feel about this. On one hand, I'm shocked. Like, was our friendship every really sorry? Was our friendship ever really real? Or was it just a cover for him hoping for more? It makes me question everything, but on the other hand, he knows me better than almost anyone. He has been there when other guys let me down, and part of me is wondering if I maybe should give him a chance.
Wow. That's like a rom-com right there. Um,
Well, but I mean, yes, it's a very nice story, but the point here is
I don't think that the friendship is fake.
that's one thing. But have you had experience like this, where you had a friend who you felt very good around for years, and then you essentially learn at some point that he or she, but I assume he in your case, has been in love with you all this time?
I wouldn't say in love, but there were bits of like when close friend, did have like a moment, I'd say, where like I'd say he was into me, but yeah. Okay, actually it happened twice. Twice. It happened twice. But at the same time there's always stories of like marrying like your best friend and things like that. So I think as like kids and in your early 20s, you do think like that shocks you a lot more than when you are older. Because I've definitely heard of more stories when you're older that you realize someone very close to you was kind of like your person all along.
Mm, that's a good point.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think this is a very difficult situation because
Yeah, especially
uh,
if you never saw them in a romantic light, you
that's the
know?
thing. I definitely been in the situations where I would be hanging out with someone that I thought was just a friend, and then essentially at some point they admitted their feelings to me, and I felt very uncomfortable because it almost felt like I have to make a choice now, which I never even intended to, do anything about, and it's kind of unfair that I need to now either choose to go full in, which is not necessarily what I feel, or it's just gonna be awkward. And
It doesn't have to be awkward. For a little bit it can, but
well, it
I
depends on the dynamics,
it
but
also depends on how the other person reacts. I agree. Because if they react badly to it, then yeah, true, they were never really your true friend all along.
It's not like they will react badly, but suddenly you will alter your behavior moving on and like talking about other people. Like you will not feel so safe anymore. You would feel I need to consider that I might hurt this person if I talk about this and that.
I mean, initially I agree, but I think over time, and they potentially also move on to someone else, then it might be okay. I could
That's a
see that
good
happening.
point. I don't know, like I think for me it always ended up either or. Like I was never able to find a balance where it would just
You
kind of
couldn't, oh, that's so
naturally.
sad. You couldn't continue to stay friends.
No, usually it would either like we would transition a relationship, but the majority of the cases we would stop talking. Or like I would become a very far friend, right? Like you would not talk every day.
That's hard. That's
Yeah.
hard. Interesting. Interesting.
So I almost always found this well waiting game where one person is secretly hoping for something more and just sticking around quite difficult and unfair.
Yeah. But it's also like it's unfair kind of on both ends because sometimes like you as like let's say the guy in the situation, you can't control your feelings. Like when you kind
No,
of
for
eventually
sure.
realize that you fall and then you think it's unfair that like it's not reciprocated. Which
It's
makes
not
sense.
an easy situation, especially if you care for each other or like
Yeah.
you've been close friends for a long time.
Yeah. 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 That brings me to like the sad last point of like what Olivia was talking about is like there's a winner and a loser, but like games and relationships lead to losing or someone is losing in this case, and that's where I think that's the
Yeah.
hardest point about it.
That's a good way of, I think, bringing this to the end. By the way, thank you for the story, guys, and please bring us
Yeah.
more.
Please submit more. We'll try to
This
post
was
to
a,
advance the topics.
yeah, but I think like the point of loser and winner is a great point that you should not feel like playing against each other. You should feel like playing together as a team.
Yeah.
And if there is this dynamic, that probably already means that it's not necessarily healthy.
No.
Any game is not probably right.
Yeah. 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 So what's our official answer? So do you have to play games in order to make a relationship work?
We literally ended with the scene where they are in bed, right? Carrie and this guy that she was
Yep.
dating, and that was it.
That she's
So yeah,
dating the wrong man.
there was no answer. So my answer was: do you have to play games to make relationship work?
Okay, caveat on the answer though, like fun games don't count. Like things like if you enjoy board games together, if because the moment of where they were playing Twister, that was actually like I think something that builds a relationship along with something that's competitive because that's pushing you like beyond your boundaries. And those things I think are quite healthy. However, if you feel like you have to gamify the relationship in terms of like basically hacks to keep him interested or like hack this hack that and like the fact that you have to hack a relationship is I think the downside of it or thing that will kind of ultimately kill it. I think things that like on the other side of like what would build a healthy relationship instead, so like one avoiding games obviously, but having like open and honest communication, like being your most authentic self, like consistently showing up and also just doing things that you said you would, as well as like mutual respect and the trying to avoid being afraid of being vulnerable, right? Because that's the
Yeah, it's a good one.
most beautiful thing about every person that I know is just like their confidence and their lack of fear of being vulnerable, and that's where I have had the best relationships, but also like the best friendships, right? So it's people when open up about our mutual or different fears, and that I think really builds the strong foundation for any kind of relationship, but especially a romantic one.
Yeah, no, that is very big truth. I do like if there's no vulnerability, you can't have a deep relationship. So it's risky, but it's part of going full
It's part of the
like all
game.
in. Yeah, it's part of the game. I mean, my answer is the same. I literally wrote that no, you should not play games to make relationship work, you should be, built on safety and trust. But you should be playful on like daily basis. Exactly what you said, because that brings the joy, I think, to life. And I just would like to close it again with the comment about winner and loser, because it's such a great conclusion for this answer. The question. The moment that you feel you are playing against each other is never going to be good. And if you play together as a team, that's when the game is healthy.
Yeah, agreed. So profound. Oh my God.
I can be a therapist now. Yes, also
That
I'm
is
single.
her psychology degree.
I have it all
Alright.
in theory. Now I just need to find someone that is on the same level.
Half the time we do these like episodes, and I'm like, yeah, that's really sound advice. I should probably do that. Honestly.
Implementation, not as easy. No, but we are making progress. Guys. We are actually pretty good people outside of the podcast as well.
We try.
I can at least say, I talk with Elizabeth often. I can batch for her.
We're making progress. Woo. All right. The next episode has the craziest name. Episode 14 is called The Fuck Buddy.
Oh.
I'm not
okay.
I'm not ready.
I have to think about how I want to approach this.
So, guys, if you have any stories, we promise they're anonymous, but throw your craziest ones at us. We'll be prepared and keep it very private. I promise.
Curious to see what we got. Well, thank you. This was everything for today. I hope you enjoyed. We did, and we'll see you soon.
And that's a wrap. Bye.
That's a wrap. Bye.